why you should read before bed as a beginner language learner, and how. So this is a video I've wanted to make for maybe a few weeks because I've just started getting really consistent with this, and I think it is a really good tip. So every language learner obviously wants to make progress in their language faster, and unfortunately they just don't do enough of the things required to actually make progress. Making progress in something is actually very simple. You pick the goal and you do the things required to get there. Unfortunately, it's very, very much overcomplicated and people just don't do that, and then they just don't make progress. So I think one of the really high ROI tasks that you can actually do to become a better language learner is to read more, and specifically before bed is really, really good. So I'm just going to explain that in this video, and I'm also going to give you a sleep hack at the end of the video to kind of help people go to sleep, because it just kind of goes with reading before bed. So what are the actual benefits of reading before bed, not just in language learning, but also just in kind of life? So unwinding is definitely the first one. It definitely eases stress, and it definitely physically relaxes you to read before bed. I think a lot of people try and go to bed and it's almost like they wake up in a drowsy state and they go to bed in an alert state, and they wonder why they're so kind of, messed around. What you need to actually do is to go to bed in an unwound state, and that's how you actually relax and go to sleep straight away. The kind of scientific explanation would be you need to do things that stimulate melatonin and reduce cortisol to reduce stress, and to actually, melatonin is basically, have I got that right? Melatonin? Yeah. That's the hormone that makes you drowsy and want to go to sleep. And yeah, that is basically what you need to do. And most people think that the way they actually kind of relax and unwind is completely wrong. It's not correct. So a lot of people think entertainment equals relaxation, like for example, video games, scrolling on social media, etc. That couldn't be further from the truth. Those kind of things aren't relaxing you, although they're, kind of enjoyable. They're actually very stimulating. They're not putting you into a relaxed state. They're releasing dopamine, which is not what's actually going to put you to sleep. So if you're not in a relaxed state, of course, your body doesn't want to sleep, and that is what people are effectively doing. They're screwing over their sleep schedule. So if you can swap any of those bad habits for something low dopamine, like reading, for example, or listening to long-form podcasts where you don't actually have to look at a screen, you can just put headphones in, then yeah, that is super good for putting you into a kind of a drowsy state. And I think bringing this back to language learning, reading in a foreign language is super good for you. It's kind of like exercise, but it relaxes you because you're getting that kind of exposure from a foreign language, and then you're going to bed. And even if you don't understand everything, so like right at the moment I'm reading Harry Potter in Russian, there have been like paragraphs or pages, maybe not full pages, that are not that bad, where I just didn't understand like any of the words, or like basically all of the words. And I'd be like, what is going on? And that's fine, because I actually still make progress and I can put things together. I notice words are similar and I can translate them and become better. And reading is also better than doing other shit, I will say. It's very difficult to swap out a bad habit for nothing. It's easier to swap out a bad habit for a good habit. So if you're reading before bed, it is certainly stopping you from doing other dumb shit that would be keeping you awake. So how do we actually read before bed as a language learner is important? First thing I'd say is you try and use physical books. So although you do have to pay for them, Kindle is not as good because you're looking at light. You can get blue light glasses, or you can turn on a blue light filter, but it's still better, I've found, even if you've got all the filters in the world, to not look at a screen, to look at a physical book. And just, I think holding a physical book is kind of way more satisfying. Like, I know when I haven't read a book in a while, I just actually crave holding a book rather than like reading text off a screen. But audiobooks can be good as well too. They can relax you. And what you should be reading is you should try and read at a comprehensible input level. So comprehensible input, we've talked about it before, it's quite a popular term in the language learning kind of sphere on the internet. It basically means a level that is not completely understandable, but not completely foreign. So you can understand some words and get a gist of what's going on, but there are words that you don't know. Obviously you can read at a level where you understand everything if you just want to relax, but you're just not going to be learning as much. For me, I try and read at a level where I don't understand maybe half of the words, or sometimes a little bit more. It just depends. Some examples of things you could read are, if you're a complete beginner, it's going to be kind of hard to find books you can read just because they're all going to be too hard, but you can try children's books. If you're a normal beginner, like maybe you've been reading, learning for a few months, for example, you can read like stories for beginners. So you can get Ollie Richards, he has physical books. I will try and put a link in the description, but there's a high chance I'll forget. Just type in his name, he does the books with short stories for beginners. If you're at an intermediate level, you can find translated texts of like books you might read in your native language. So for example, I'm reading Harry Potter in Russian. I've already read Harry Potter in Italian when I was learning that. That was pretty fun. And you can also get, if you're more advanced, books for native speakers. And then the same applies to audiobooks with all of them. And just 30 minutes as well. It can be less, it can be more. It's up to you. Just read with a small light. You don't need to turn your whole room light on. That makes me actually feel physical pain because it's just keeping you awake. And yeah, focus on reading extensively as well. So extensive reading is basically, you're not focusing on each individual word, you're just kind of reading for pleasure. And then yeah, when you're done, switch off the light and go to sleep. That's basically it. The reason we're reading extensively, is because you're trying to put yourself into a drowsy state. So just reading in for enjoyment. If you don't understand words, just read over them. You'd be surprised. You can just keep going. It's fine. And yeah, that's basically it. That's all there really is to reading before bed. If you have any comments, you can comment down below. My secret sleep hack, which isn't really a secret, but it's just something that doesn't get talked about, is to lie on the floor before bed. So I don't know why this works, actually. There's probably a reason, but I found if you're lying on the floor for 30 minutes or so before bed, reading or listening to a podcast, that actually makes it way easier to fall asleep when you actually want to. So I'm not saying fall asleep on the floor, like fall asleep in bed, but lie on the floor for a bit until you're drowsy and then get into bed. And it's way easier to fall asleep than just lying in bed. I don't know why. I genuinely don't, but I heard it and it works. I've done it. And you can combine it really easily with reading, just with a pillow on the floor. And I think it's just cooler, it's more relaxing, it's easy to breathe. And yeah, it'll just make you more sleepy. So definitely give that one a try. It's a bit of a weird one, but it does actually work. And yeah, that's basically the video. Thanks for watching, guys. Check out the description if you want to see whatever I put in there that I've remembered. And yeah, have a good one.